My husband is an executive at a well-known company. Someone like you, a poor high school graduate, wouldn't stand a chance.
Alex next to me heard that and whispered to me,
Cheryl's husband is the sales manager at that famous Royal Insurance.
I was quite surprised by these words. Your husband is the sales manager at Royal Insurance, but the name is...
Oh, do you know my husband? My current last name isn't Martin, you know. I went by Martin at the reunion to avoid confusion, but now my surname is Green. Does that match the sales manager's name you know?
Finally, I understood everything. Life is really interesting. It's full of unexpected events. As I was marveling at fate's twist, an email arrived on my phone at just that moment. I was even more surprised when I saw the email. I can't believe I got this email at this time. Now I can get revenge on Cheryl. When Cheryl heard me talking to myself, she looked at me doubtfully. I told her, "Too bad, tomorrow's the deadline for the $10 million contract."
What?
Cheryl looked stunned and confused. Oops, my bad, can't talk more about it. It's business. But one thing I can say, you're going to hell from tomorrow. I smirked fearlessly. My name is Thomas Miller. And this year, I finally turned 40. I was raised in a single parent ever since my father passed away in an accident when I was in the 4th grade. As the eldest son in a large family with 2 younger sisters and 2 younger brothers, we were hardly wealthy compared to the average household. In short, it was a pretty poor family. That's why I decided to work after finishing high school to help ease the family's financial strain.
Nowadays, you need to at least graduate from university, or you'll struggle later. You have good grades. It's such a waste. I think you can manage a public university, so please go.
My mother earnestly advised me to continue to university. However, I wasn't particularly fond of academic study and didn't mind starting work after finishing high school. In my mind, school and university was a place for those who wanted to study. If you didn't want to study, there was no need to pursue further education. I still believe this to be true. I had a stronger desire to earn money and learn useful knowledge in the real world.
I think graduating from university might have its benefits. There is some fun in going to university and hanging out with friends, but the desire to earn money outweighs that. If I ever want to go to university, I can always take online classes or attend night classes, so it'll work out.
I reasoned with my mother. I didn't have to go to university afterwards, so I didn't go to online courses or night classes. Since I started working right after high school graduation, I now have 22 years of work experience at the age of 40. If I had graduated from university, 22 years would put me in my mid-40s, so I feel a sense of superiority that, even after 22 years, I'm still actively working in my prime. Although I was once looked down upon for my lack of formal education, I now genuinely appreciate having built my career through early hardships. If I could meet my younger self, I'd advise, there's no need to go to university. After graduating high school, I got a job at the automotive sheet metal factory. Usually companies don't hire people without a license, but the president of this company was a friend of my late father, so even I without a license could work. If he hadn't employed me, I wouldn't be where I am today. I really appreciate him. I worked hard as a mechanic's apprentice until I was 18, then I got my driver's and mechanic's license. Now, I have the qualifications of a SE Master Mechanic. It was by chance that I joined a company, but once I started driving, I grew to love cars so much. I wonder if working straight after high school was fate. Although I don't do maintenance work on cars now that I've been promoted, I still love cars. I'm looking forward to tinkering with my car on my day off. I'm married at 30 and have 2 children. My work and personal life are fulfilling, and I have no complex about being a high school graduate. One day, while living such a fulfilling life, I received a letter of invitation for the reunion. It brought back memories of my high school days. There are classmates I don't want to see, but I definitely want to see Alex Nelson, the only one who understood and supported my situation when I said I would work after high school. I don't know what he thinks, but at that time, I considered Alex my best friend. He went to university, and our lives diverged so much that we naturally lost touch. However, deep down, I always wanted to see Alex again and share a drink with him. And I wanted to see my homeroom teacher in my last year of high school because she helped me. As I was pondering whether to attend due to my busy work schedule, my wife gave me a precious piece of advice.
Before we get married, you always said you wanted to see Alex again. Isn't this a chance? Work will go on without you, but the reunion might not come again.
She was right. The reunion is only a few times in my life. Thinking I might miss the chance to see Alex if I missed this, I took my attendance and sent it back to the organizer. On the day of the reunion, I was at the hotel venue. I arrived quite early. The reunion still had more than an hour to begin. I don't know if it's because of my long experience in society or my personality, but I have to get there more than 30 minutes before my appointment. Unless I have a packed schedule, I consider being late as unacceptable for a businessman, so I always end up arriving early. There was no one around who looked like they were attending the reunion yet. The organizer has not come yet. As I was walking around the venue, someone called out from behind me.
Hey, isn't that Thomas?
I turned around and saw the person I wanted to see the most. Oh, you're Alex, aren't you? It was Alex, my best friend in high school. I remember him as an impatient person, always the first to finish everything in class. That habit of his probably hasn't changed even now. You're still as impatient, huh? We've got more than an hour before the reunion starts, and even the organizer isn't here yet.
True, but I was surprised to see you here before me. I thought I'd be the first one. You're more impatient than I am.
We laughed at each other. Even though more than 20 years had passed since we last met, it felt like we had returned to our high school days. At that moment, I genuinely felt glad I came. However, as the reunion began, this sense of exhilaration quickly vanished. Because this time I saw the last guy I wanted to see.
Long time no see. You still look like a Pua man. You remember me, right? It's Cheryl.
While I was talking with Alex, I was suddenly addressed in a shrill voice. I could never forget that face. Cheryl Martin, who used to mock me as Pool all the time during high school. Frankly, I didn't want to spend even a second talking to her, so I ignored her.
Oh, why ignore me? A beautiful and wealthy woman is trying to talk to you. If we weren't classmates, we'd be worlds apart and never have the chance to talk.
As for me, I didn't need such an opportunity. Cheryl isn't that beautiful, and more importantly, I have a loving wife. Her words meant nothing to me. I was certainly Pooh in high school. There was a lunch day once a month at my school. Knowing my mother was too busy with work every day, I never told her about it and always skipped lunch on that day. Alex, aware of my situation, would share a bit of his lunch, but it was never enough, and my stomach would rumble during afternoon classes. Cheryl, who was sitting next to me, mocked me for that.
Thomas's stomach is so loud, I can't concentrate on the class. Pooh people can't even eat lunch.
Thomas's father has passed away, and H is a single-parent family. His mother is struggling. Don't mock him like that.
Normally, people have insurance or savings for emergencies, right? His family is too poor to have been able to afford it. If you're struggling with money, you should just ask for help from your father's or mother's family, right? If you can't do that, then his family has been poor for generations.
My parents were both from single parents, so my family certainly wasn't rich. But why should I be mocked by Cheryl for that? Is being poor a crime? She acted as if poor people didn't even deserve to exist. It was truly humiliating. Only those who have experienced it know what it's like for a teenage boy to have his worth denied in front of everyone. Unfortunately, I was in the same class as her all through high school, so she kept mocking me. She represents a dark chapter of my high school life. Now, I'm working in the automotive industry and earning a decent living. At least I don't think I'm the kind of poor person you can mock anymore, and even if I were poor, it wouldn't bother you, right? I've grown older, so there's no reason for Cheryl to freely insult me. I spoke my mind boldly, and for a moment, she seemed taken aback. But she was really unpleasant. She paused for a moment, seemed to come up with a subject to mock me, and opened her mouth to me again.
By the way, you started working right after high school, didn't you? Nowadays, finishing just high school seems a bit outdated. I heard you became a mechanic. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. I got my ASE Master Mechanic and became a car maintenance specialist. Even with just a high school diploma, you can achieve a lot if you try.
So, you work all greasy and dirty as a mechanic. That's not sophistication. That may be fitting for a poor person.
Cheryl seems to still believe in a hierarchy of jobs, even at her age. Without jobs like mechanics, no one could safely drive their cars, but she seems ungrateful for that. Don't you own a car? Who do you think maintains it to ensure it's safe to drive? The mechanics you look down on are the ones making sure your car is safe to drive.
In my case, I always have a new car, so it's fine. If it needs maintenance, I just buy a new one. Maintenance is only needed for beat-up cars, right? Don't compare my car with those.
Talking to her is pointless. Even new cars may break down, and maintenance improves your chances of a safe and comfortable ride. This should be common knowledge to anyone with a bit of understanding. Even though she had no knowledge, she was saying sloppy things because she wanted to mock me. Because of that, she was looked at coldly by her classmates. But she didn't realize that.
No one succeeds in manual labor, and even though it was successful, it was at such a low level. The low level is a success for the bottom of high school graduates. You are pleased.
If the person themselves feels happy, then that's what matters, isn't it? I don't want others to dictate my happiness. I clearly don't see eye to eye with you, so please stop talking to me. I decided to ignore her because talking to her would only make me uncomfortable. I didn't want to spoil the reunion, which was supposed to be a special occasion. While I completely ignored Cheryl, she looked bored but then smirked as if she had an idea. And she's done incredible things to me.
Cheers to the reunion,
she exclaimed, and then proceeded to pour beer over my head. I got completely soaked.
Hey, what are you doing?
Alex yelled on my behalf, but it was too late. I had my hair styled at the salon in the morning for the reunion, but it was all ruined now. Understandably, the other classmates were taken aback by the scene. Alex offered me his handkerchief, but I gave it back to him as I did not want to dirty it, and I borrowed a towel from the hotel staff. As I wiped my head without a word, Cheryl suddenly excused herself, thinking she had gone a little too far.
Are you mad? This is just a joke. You know, like how they pour beer in baseball celebrations. I thought it would be fitting for our reunion.
It was a terrible excuse. But she would be absolutely furious if I were to pour beer on her. I was silently wondering how I could get revenge on Cheryl. It's not just about this incident. Considering everything up to now, I feel I need to do something significant to her. Otherwise, I won't be satisfied. I wanted to enjoy and end the reunion on a good note, but I decided to deal with this woman. Cheryl didn't like that I was silent, so she started bad-mouthing me again.
What's going on? Why are you ignoring me even though I'm apologizing to you? I've always disliked your attitude. Poor people can't even understand jokes, so it's really annoying.
If my memory serves right, Cheryl hasn't uttered a single word of apology. Yet, she's playing the victim as if she had apologized and wasn't forgiven. She is really disrespectful. Cut it out. You haven't apologized at all. Don't think you can get away with this. I could sue you and claim damages.
Go ahead, try it. My husband is a big deal. Do you know what happens when you turn my husband into an enemy?
She scoffed, looking down on me. Who cares who your husband is? I'll put both of you in your place. You think I can take on your husband?
My husband is an executive at a well-known company. Someone like you, a poor high school graduate, wouldn't stand a chance.
Alex next to me heard that and whispered to me.
Cheryl's husband is the sales manager at the well-known Royal Insurance.
Hearing that, I was extremely surprised. Your husband works as the sales manager at Royal Insurance, but the name is...
Oh, do you know my husband? My surname isn't Martin anymore. I used Martin at the reunion to avoid confusion, but it's now Green. Does that match the sales manager you know?
Finally, everything clicked. Life is truly fascinating. It's a series of unexpected events. As I was marveling at fate's twist, an email arrived on my phone at just that moment. I was even more surprised when I saw the email. I can't believe I got this email at this time. Now I can get revenge on Cheryl. When Cheryl heard me talking to myself, she looked at me doubtfully. I told her, "Too bad. Tomorrow's the deadline for the $10 million contract."
What?
Cheryl looked confused. "Oops, my bad. Can't talk more about it. It's business. But one thing I can say, you're going to hell from tomorrow." I smirked fearlessly. The next day, there was a call from Cheryl at my office. My secretary transferred the call to me.
You have a call from Cheryl. She calls herself your classmate. What should I do?
I hadn't expected her to call my office, but knowing it was Cheryl, I could guess the reason. I was curious to know what Cheryl would say, so I decided to take the call. "Hello, I'm on the line."
My husband is demanding a divorce. I don't understand why, but he mentioned something about disrespecting you. What's going on? Do something.
"Even if you suddenly call me and ask to fix your marriage crisis, there's nothing I can do about it. You should discuss it with your husband. It's none of my business." As I was about to hang up the phone, Cheryl started to panic and apologized hastily.
I'm sorry, don't hang up. It seems my husband is terminating the contract with your company. The $10 million contract termination you mentioned yesterday, that's what it meant, right?
Well, yes, that's what it meant. But either way, your calling me won't change my mind. Your divorce is pretty much confirmed.
Why do you think you can decide such things? A contract worth $10 million requires significant authority, right?
She still thought it was some kind of mistake because she didn't understand that I could decide on a $10 million contract. You called my company, and you still don't get it. I am the president of this company. It's only natural that the president decides whether to make a contract or not.
What? You're the president? I can't believe a high school graduate could be the president. It must be a small company, right? And a contract worth $10 million doesn't make sense to me.
You still insist on my high school diploma, but if you go into society, it doesn't matter what your education is. How long are you going to stay in that student mindset? I am indeed the president, and our company makes a profit of $30 million a year. I don't usually say this, but I believe we're one of the major players around here, something you seem unaware of. It turned out that Cheryl had heard of my company's name, but assumed it was some small auto repair shop with the same name. She still believed I worked at an auto maintenance company. In reality, I had only worked as a mechanic until my late 20s, after which I started my own used car sales business. This venture turned out to be a huge success, and now it's a well-known used car dealership in the area. This fiscal year, our profits soared to more than double the previous $30 million, with the potential to reach $100 million in profits in a few years. My company not only sells used cars, but also provides auto repair services and acts as an insurance agency. The insurance agency part of our business already generates about $10 million in revenue, and in fact, we have been partnered exclusively with Royal Insurance. The contract renewal with them was due today. When I explained it to her, Cheryl sounded startled and screamed,
What? A high school graduate built such a big company? How is that possible?
I've already signed with another rival insurance company. It doesn't really matter to us which insurance company we contract. Not having to deal with Royal Insurance anymore is actually a relief. I was tired of their elitist attitudes. When she listened to my story, she became hopeless and couldn't say anything. But I felt no sympathy. Talking to you further has no benefit for me. I'm hanging up now. As I was about to put down the receiver, Cheryl began to rant hysterically on the other end. But it was also trivial to me, so I pretended not to hear and hung up. The next day, to my surprise, Royal Insurance's sales manager, Jordan Green, accompanied by Cheryl, came to my company. It was highly unusual for a sales manager of a large corporation to personally visit like this, but the abrupt termination of a $10 million contract must have been hard for them to accept. Well, Director Jordan, what brings you here today, and with your wife? I greeted them, pretending to be oblivious to the contract issue. Jordan seemed irritated by my demeanor and raised his voice slightly in response.
You know why we're here, don't you? You must understand why I brought my wife. I don't know the specifics of what my wife told you, but surely making a contract decision based on that would be mixing personal issues with business.
Indeed, if that were the sole reason for not renewing the contract, it would be so. However, our decision to not renew the contract wasn't just because of your wife. There are valid reasons behind it. However, Jordan was not open to listening.
I don't want to hear such convenient excuses. I'm even considering divorcing my wife over this. Show some sincerity on your part.
His speaking became increasingly rough. He was quite irritated. Whether you two get divorced is irrelevant to me. It has nothing to do with our business dealings.
I don't want to hear that from someone who ended a contract over unrelated matters. If there's no valid reason, we might have to take this to court. Are you prepared for that?
He threatened with the possibility of legal action. Did he think that would freak me out? If the reason for terminating the contract is because of a dispute with Cheryl, I will be at a disadvantage if it goes to court. However, that was not the case. I decided to explain the situation to Jordan. Actually, we received an internal email alleging that your insurance representative and our company were colluding to sell unnecessary contracts to clients. I paused there to gauge Jordan's reaction. He was visibly shocked, at a loss for words. His earlier bravado had vanished, replaced by streams of cold sweat and a pale face. Moreover, the email stated that the sales manager of Royal Insurance suggested giving kickbacks, and that's what the insurance agent has been doing. But since the email was anonymous, we couldn't just take it at face value. That's why I ordered the formation of an internal investigation team to find out the truth.
And what did you find?
Jordan asked me weakly. When we questioned the insurance agent, they initially denied it, but ultimately confessed. This happened just one day before the negotiation for the contract extension with your company. I found out about it through an email during the reunion and instructed to void the contract immediately. That's how we narrowly avoided finalizing the agreement. That email at that time. Cheryl seemed to recall our interaction during the reunion.
I can't believe you received such an email at that time.
It's the consequence of your own actions. Of course, I've already reported this matter to your company's president, and I expect a decision will be made soon. Cheryl, now fully aware of the details, suddenly raised her voice.
I wasn't at fault, so the divorce should be called off. If you still want a divorce, expect a significant settlement from me. After all, the contract termination was all you're doing.
My decision to consider divorce isn't solely based on the contract issue. It's because you fail as a homemaker. You don't do household chores, you neglect parenting, and you've changed a lot since we married.
In front of me, the two started arguing vehemently, pointing out each other's flaws.
If we're getting divorced, I'm taking the assets. If you don't like that, you should apologize to me.
As if I'd ever do that. You don't do any housework and just waste money. I should be the one claiming alimony from you.
Now both of you, get out, and don't show your faces here again. When I said that, both of them suddenly started crying out loud. They had probably never been told that by others before. Oh, before you go, let me share one piece of interesting information. I heard from the insurance agent involved in the kickbacks that half of that money was going to Director Jordan, and he was spending it at hostess clubs.
Really? Hostess clubs, so he wasn't saving but blowing it all there.
Exactly. He's been squandering more than he was making illicitly, so there's likely hardly any savings left. Have you ever actually checked how much is saved? Observing Cheryl's reaction, it seemed that Jordan had been managing all their finances. Assuming they had significant savings, Cheryl turned pale and confronted Jordan.
Is that true? How much do we have in savings? Tell me clearly.
Faced with such a fierce confrontation, whether he could no longer hide it or simply resigned himself, he readily disclosed the amount of their savings.
There's no savings left. I've spent it all, thinking the money from the insurance schemes would keep coming in. Now that's going away too. It looks like bankruptcy is the only option.
He knew where he was going, and he looked relieved. He thought that whatever happens, happens.
Don't joke with me. I wasn't told about having no savings. What about my debts then?
What? You have debts? That's news to me. What debts are you talking about?
Cheryl, panicked upon hearing about the bankruptcy, blurted out more than she should have. Pressured by Jordan, she quickly adopted a defiant attitude and boldly explained her debts.
Why not? You spent a lot of money at hostess clubs, right? I also want to enjoy going to Mala Host Bar occasionally. After all, I've been putting up with an old man like you. It's only natural I'd want to have fun with younger guys.
What did you say? Being with an old hag like you is suffocating. I can't stand being with you anymore. We're getting a divorce.
Fine by me. There's no money, and you're a mean old man. There's no point in staying married to you.
The argument escalated beyond control, turning into a full-blown fight. I can't stand to hear this anymore, so take it outside, and we'll be seeing you in court. We will recover all the money taken by our insurance agent and return it to the customers. Jordan begged me not to do that, but I didn't mind calling security to get them out. He clung to my legs, weeping and apologizing.
I never knew you were such a disgraceful man.
Cheryl regretted getting married when she saw her husband. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. Upon my insistence, the two of them reluctantly left. In the end, I didn't go to court but managed to recover the money through a settlement. I explained the situation to the customers, switched their insurance to more appropriate plans, and our company covered the difference. Of course, we made sure that the insurance agent and Jordan, who received a share of the kickbacks, bore the cost of this compensation. The total compensation was about $200,000, of which Jordan paid about $80,000. Despite this, Jordan had hardly any savings, so he had to take on the amount as debt. From now on, his life will likely be dedicated to repaying that debt. His involvement in the embezzlement became known within Royal Insurance, leading to his dismissal without severance pay. Despite having worked in a top-tier company, he found himself unemployed at 50, with no savings and only debts. His misdeeds were known industry-wide, preventing any chance of re-employment in insurance. Having devoted his career solely to the insurance industry, Jordan, now over 50, found himself with zero experience in any other field. Consequently, he ended up becoming a part-time worker juggling 3 different jobs despite his age. However, as these jobs require no specific skills, his salary will unlikely increase, and it's easy to imagine he won't be able to continue as his physical strength declines with age. Even though it's none of my business, I can't help but worry about what he will do. In the end, Cheryl divorced Jordan. Cheryl, having been a housewife for many years without acquiring any skills, faces even tougher challenges. With no computer experience, her employment options are mostly limited to physical labor. She doesn't have the stamina to work 8 hours. In the end, she doesn't have a choice and works at a middle-aged hostess club. Ironically, she ended up working at a hostess club that her husband had spent a lot of money on. It's hard to imagine how she feels about this. This situation has caused her stress to accumulate, and she ultimately resumed her visits to Mala Host Bar. She has not even completed paying off her debts and going to Male Host Bar. She is now heading straight for ruin. In the end, our company's decision to honestly disclose the insurance issue paid off, significantly boosting our credibility. It was beneficial that the media praised our approach, which garnered public support in our favor. Additionally, at this time, a major used car dealership was exposed for fraud, bringing it to the brink of collapse. Being compared to them likely worked in our favor. Many of their customers switched to us, causing our sales to quadruple and profits to exceed $100 million, securing our future success. I have learned from this incident that in the long run, people who are honest and truthful in their business will benefit. While deceit might offer short-term gains, it inevitably comes to light. Someday the lie will be exposed. I take this experience as a lesson to continue doing business that benefits our customers. A company where both customers and employees can be happy is my ideal. Even if it sounds idealistic, I want to create such a company. Since reuniting at the reunion, I've been going out for drinks occasionally with Alex. Having worked since graduating from high school, I rarely had the chance to socialize with peers. It's a new discovery for me at this age how enjoyable it is to go out drinking with people my own age. I want to cherish my relationship with Alex as well. I aim to enrich both my personal and professional life, striving for a fulfilling journey ahead.